10 seconds. Stand by. All right, let's take a look at what we have here. We've got Linda on the menu, the 3 bars of death. These athletes will do 3 movements with the barbell: deadlifts, bench press, and squat cleans. The rep scheme will be 10 down to 1, so they will begin their first round with 10 deadlifts, 10 bench press, and 10 squat clean. The next round will be 9, 9, and 9, and they will go all the way down to a single rep on each one of the movements for their final round. The gentlemen are using 295 pounds on the deadlift, 195 pounds on the bench press, and 145 pounds on the squat clean. Normally when you do Linda, the weights are counted as percentages of your body weight. Deadlift is 1.25 times your body weight. Bench press is your body weight. And squat cleans are 0.75% of your body weight. Well, for this event right here, the CrossFit Games organization took an average weight of last year's Games competitors, and then these are the weights that came out of those percentages with that average weight of an athlete. After each completed round, the athletes will advance their squat clean bar forward to mark the ending of the round, and then work their way back to that deadlift bar. Lane number 7, Muhammad Alumda, the first man back to the squat cleans for the second time. Round of 9 for him. And he's going touch and go with these reps here. No problem for Muhammad. Mark Orday, lane 5, also back at the squat cleans. And so is David Ben David on lane 10.
Support Detroit, our lovely city.
Mark Urdeich muy bien posicionado.
Muhammad Alumda already back at the bench press for his 3rd time, and he's done with 8 repetitions. And now moving on to the squat clean. For the deadlift repetitions to count, the bar must start from the ground. must be brought up to the hip, to that top position, so that the athlete has their knees and hips fully extended and the shoulders are behind the bar at the top.
Mark Urdeich se coloca en las 8 repeticiones de squat clean. Le precede Mohamed El Omda en la calle número 7. Pero si mantiene este ritmo, puede conseguir una muy buena posición en este segundo evento del día.
For the bench press reps to count, the athletes must unrack the bar themselves, bring it up to straight arms before they begin the descent down. The bar must make contact with the torso, and the athlete must have their arms completely locked out before re-racking the bar. The athlete has to have their feet on the ground and their butt on the bench throughout the entire repetition. And now Mohamed El Omda, lane number 7, already done with his first, almost done with his first 4 rounds here. He's on the round of 7s on the squat cleans. And finally, for the squat clean repetitions to count, again, the bar must start from the floor. And it must be brought up to the athlete's shoulders in one motion. And at the bottom, the athlete has to have their hips go below their knees. And they cannot do a power clean plus front squat combo, so it has to be a straight up full squat clean. Coming up from the squat, the athlete must stand up all the way with their knees and hips fully extended, bar on the shoulders and elbows in front of the bar before dropping it down. If at any point one of these standards is not met by the athletes in any one of the movements, the judge will give the athlete a no rep, and the athlete will then have to do that repetition again. Lane 5, Mark Urdeich, also done with his round of 7s. David Ben David coming to his bar to get started on those 7 squat cleans, as Mohamed El Omda is already on the round of 6 on those squat cleans. Most of the work done in this event is in those earlier rounds. The total amount of reps for each movement is 55 reps if the athlete gets the event done.
Mark Urdeich se dispone a hacer la ronda de 6 repeticiones en el press de banca. Si no me equivoco, sigue posicionado en segundo puesto.
just passed the 10-minute mark now. Time cap for this event number 2 is 17 minutes.
Vamos, Mark, solo 5 repeticiones. De aquí en adelante ya es cuesta abajo.
Still in the lead here in this heat 1, Mohamed Alunda, lane 7. Already on his round of 4s. To go until the time cap. Mark Bourdain, lane 5, moving his barbell forward again, and he's going to go back to the bar, deadlift bar for 4 repetitions. Mohamed Alunda back at the squat clean bar again. After these reps here, he only has 3 more reps to go for each movement.
Vamos, Mark, estamos en la ronda de 4. Calle número 7, Mohamed Alunda, a 3 repeticiones del final. Perdón, 3 repeticiones en cada ejercicio.
Only one more round to go for Mohamed Alunda, lane 7. He's most likely going to take the heat win here in this heat number 1. One more bench press and 1 more squat clean to go for Mohamed Alunda, lane number 7. He's going to be the first athlete here at the Meridian Regional to finish this event number 2, Linda. And here comes Mohamed. Over the line and onto the finish mat in 14 minutes. And 1 second unofficially, and also officially 14:01 is the time to beat here from Mohamed Alunda.
Superstar.
Mark, estamos a 2 minutos del time cap. Ya no queda nada. Últimas repeticiones.
Lane number 5, Mark Orday. 2 squat cleans to go on the second to last round for him. And then there's only 1 more rep of each movement.
Mark Urdage, le llaman el tractor. Una repetición de peso muerto, una repetición de press de banca y una repetición de squat clean es todo lo que le queda.
One minute to go, and here comes Mark Orday, lane number 5. Last squat clean to go for him. And Mark Orday takes second place in the heat.
Ahora sí, segunda posición para Mark Urdage desde CrossFit Area, Barcelona.
30 seconds to go. Please, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for these athletes. Help them out. Put your hands together.
Últimos 10 segundos.
10 seconds. 3, 2, 1. That does it right there for this Heat 1. Mohamed Elumda sets the time to be here at the Meridian Regional. One more big round of applause for Mohamed and all the rest of these gentlemen here. This was day 1 done for all of them. They'll be back tomorrow afternoon for their event number 3. 10 seconds. Stand by.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot bar. Know your shit. Cook from the crock pot. We came from nothing to something. I don't trust nobody, grip the trigger. Call up the gang and they come and get gang. Cry me a river, give you a tissue. It's bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. My it's bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. All set. Records on records, got backers on backers, I'm riding around in a coupe. I take your big from you. I'm a dog. Oh wow. Hop in the fall. I tell that they can't come for me. I swear these is under me. They hating and never keep jumping me.
14 minutes and 2 seconds was the time set in that previous heat by Mohamed Elumda. Jonas Blue on lane 8 had a great showing in that individual event number 1. If he does well here, you might see him push himself up to that final heat for tomorrow. That's where Jonas wants to be.
And the ashtray, just national smash track. Hop in the limb, have a drag race. I let them birds take a bath, baby. Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot bar. Know your shit. Cooking up from the crock pot. We came from nothing to something. I don't trust nobody, grip the trigger. Call up the gang and they come and get gang. Cry me a river, give you a tissue. It's bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. It's bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. My girl don't like an English bone. Tell bad my friend to cough and choke. Inbox me girl and you get back down. Me na borrow knife and you never gun. When we see cock with a hide and gun. Life is no fun when you look like done. War them want tell them do it and done. Pick up the steel like Ross Michael Jumbo. Bodum 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 boom boom. Bodum 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 boom boom. Introduce me to your wife and we know she broke up, break down, nutty, buddy, natty, Dutch. Don't move too fast, I might shoot you. Draco, bad, bougie. I'm always hanging with shooters. Might be posted somewhere secluded. Still be playing with pots and pans.
Lane number 3, Alex Evans.
When I'm on stage, show me boo.
First man back to the squat cleans for the second time. Gregory Toussaint, also lane 5. All those squat cleans, and as is Jonas Muller, lane number 8.
Yeah, that way. Float on the track like a Segway. Yeah, that way. I used to trap by the subway. Yeah, that way. Young trap with the AK. Yeah, that way. Big dope, get the dope, Macy. Hey. Raindrops, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot box. No, your shit.
Alex Evans se coloca en primera posición, seguido de Jonas Muller.
Your top man in this heat right now on the sets of 8, and it is Jonas Muller, lane number 8, coming to the squat cleans first, and Alex Evans following closely behind on lane 3. Alex Evans is going touch and go without letting go of the bar, whereas Jonas Muller is dropping the bar every rep.
Basel Katmesh en la calle número 2 se hace con la tercera posición y Jonas Muller consigue adelantarse de Alex Evans por 2 reps.
After the round of 8, Jonas Muller and Alex Evans going rep for rep here, moving back to their deadlift spar at the same time.
Alex Evans se adelanta por una repetición a Jonas Muller.
same thing. Alex Evans going for touch and go on these cleans. And Jonas Müller breaking them up in single repetitions. The touch and go reps are a little bit faster to do, but it's a lot harder on your grip, and Jonas is saving that grip for later as he's dropping the bar each time. Justin Swart, lane 6, back at the squat cleans again, as well on the round of 7s, and so is Guillaume Manoir on lane 9. David Arici also lane 4, and Basil Kalkamesh lane 2, back at those squat cleans. And out of these 4 men, Justin Swart is the first man to advance the bar and head back to the deadlifts.
Recordamos que son 17 minutos de time cap. Estamos a punto de cumplir los 10 minutos.
Lane 3, Alex Evans done. Or is he with his bench press on that round of 6? He is, and he's walking towards that squat clean bar.
Estamos viendo una batalla encarnada entre Alex Evans y Jonas Müller, calle número 3 y calle número 8 respectivamente. Atentos todos porque Guillaume Magnois también está avanzando posiciones en la calle número 9.
After this round of 6 is done, these athletes are well over halfway in regards to the reps in this event. They've already got 45 reps in of each movement, only 10 more to go per movement. Sorry, 15 per movement, so 40 repetitions done.
Atentos a la calle número 9, Guillaume Magnois se coloca en primera posición por ahora.
Lane number 8, Jonas Müller has 2 reps to go. Lane 3, Alex Evans also still on the bench press on this round of 5s. And Jonas Müller walking towards the squat clean bar, but so is Alex Evans. These guys have been going back and forth all heat long. Coming down to the stretch here. Not a lot of reps to do. So the transition will start playing a big part here.
Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic. Shorty fell in love with a hustle. Man, I took her from a bus. Keep talking like they know something. Slide on your body like she knows something. Don't panic. Don't panic. We just getting started. Don't panic.
Lane 3, Alex Evans already making his way back to the bar. Now it's Jonas Muller. Those meters will add up, walking back and forth the field. You want to make those transitions as quick as possible to get every second off your time that you can. Lane number 3, Alex Evans. 4 squat cleans. That time to beat set by Muhammad Alumna will stand from that previous heat at 14:02. We're at 15 minutes now, 2 more minutes to go. Alex Evans, 3 more rounds to go.
Atentos porque Davide Arici consigue superar a Jonas Muller. Por lo tanto, nos colocamos en primera posición por ahora, Guillaume Magnuat. Segunda posición es para Alex Evans en la calle número 3. Tercera posición, Davide Arici.
Lane number 6, Justin Swart, has come from behind and he's on the round of 2s. 1 minute to go before we hit that time cap. And Justin Swart, 2 more squat cleans and then 1 more final round to go. If Justin moves fast here, he might be able to finish the event. 40 seconds to go. Come on, guys. Let's help these athletes out here. As Guillaume Magnuat now is gonna get his last clean done and he's gonna be the first man to finish. 20 seconds to go. 15, here comes Justin Swart. Help Justin out, ladies and gentlemen. 1 more rep for him. 10 seconds. And across the line. 3, 2, 1. That does it. Number 2 done right there.
Resultados no oficiales. En primer lugar, Guillaume Magnuat. En segundo lugar, calle número 6, Justin Swart. Y tercer lugar para Alex Evans en la calle número 3.
Welcome back to Madrid, Spain, as we're ready for men's event number 2, the second and final one on the opening day of action here on the men's side of competition at the Caja Mágica For the Meridian Regional, Brandon Domain, Mads Jakobsen, and Nikki Brazier with you through 2 heats here in event number 2. And looking back at event number 1, we will have a couple of names here in heat number 3 that lead the way, including Elliot Simmons, your points leader after his win in event number 1. Jonas Mueller, you just saw in heat number 2. And second, Pedro Bartolo will be here in heat number 3. They round out the top 3. None of those names are in our final heat going into this event.
On lane 2, Alexander Anasagasti.
It's going to be interesting to see how these guys do this. Event number 2 is Linda. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 1 rep of deadlift, bench press, and squat clean. The deadlift at 295 pounds, bench press at 195, and squat clean at 145 pounds. The time cap is 17 minutes.
And here in heat number 3, the points leader, Elliot Simmons, will be in lane number 8. Third place, Pedro Bartolo will be in lane number 1. Ninth place in event number 1, Rasmus Anderson in lane 9. And in lane number 6, rounding out the top 10 from our first event, Anthony Monks will be in lane number 6.
10 seconds. Stand by.
And away we go. Only 4 of 20 have been able to beat the 17-minute time cap thus far here in the Meridian, led by Mohamed Elomda at 14 minutes and 1 second. He's the only one of those 4 to go sub-16.
That's very, very fast. There are a couple of athletes out here I'm kind of looking forward to see how they handle this. One of them, obviously, Rasmus Andersen. We know that Rasmus Andersen, for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, Rasmus Andersen is a really, really strong athlete. And we've seen him do well in events like this in the past, and I'm kind of expecting him to go out here and start out with a slightly conservative pace and then kind of increase as we move our way through the event.
In lane number 1, Pedro Bartolo, our third place finisher in the opening event. He's choosing to break up this set of 10. Not surprising for one of the athletes that's going to have that bar be a good bit heavier than he is, as he weighs 80 kilos, about 176 pounds. That bar, 89 kilos, about 195.
And that makes a huge difference. I mean, obviously the weight isn't going to be a problem. It's just cycling it. If you're not super heavy and that bar is pretty much above body weight all the time, then it's going to be very costly.
Somebody that won't have that issue is the man you saw a moment ago in blue and gray in lane number 9, and that's Rasmus Anderson, heaviest man in the field at 215 pounds, 98 kilos.
And he's just a powerhouse. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, how you've seen him on social media and some of the assault bike intervals that he does and some of the things that we've seen him do in the past. I mean, this guy is very comfortable with the barbell, and this isn't any weight that should phase him.
It should be very scary for the rest of the field that Rasmus got off to a good start in event number 1 with that 9th place finish, with this event still left on the docket today.
Oh, absolutely. I think the biggest challenge for an athlete like Rasmus is to go out there and be conservative to start with, just because he knows that he's so powerful and potent that, you know, you want to kind of contain yourself just a little bit to start with, so that you've got a little bit left in the tank in the later stages. And I think that's pretty much the only challenge that we're going to see Rasmus with today.
And he's actually going for a narrow grip compared to what we're seeing for a lot of the athletes, where they do have the ability to go out to that second smooth ring in the knurling on the bar. He's staying within that first ring. We've seen some athletes kind of reach out there as far as they can just to try to take advantage, but he's choosing not to do that.
And obviously, if you go a little bit wider, you're not going to you're not going to have to press that barbell or push that barbell that far. That being said, if you're used to a smaller grip and you kind of found your rhythm and found your stride in it that way, wouldn't want to change it. Wouldn't want to change it. And also, in the past, I mean, there were some people with pec issues, and that stretch is going to be a little bit, there'll be more stretch, both off the pec, but also the bicep tendon. So pretty smart to go narrow, and, you know, looks like he's come off to a good start.
But this is not just a big man event, as Anderson on the left. Second place is Alexander Anasagasti, who comes in at 74 kilos, 163 pounds, the lightest here in the heat, and he's sitting in the second position.
And, you know, he was the one who wasn't really sure whether he was going to do this. I mean, he's doing great now. What he's doing really smart is that he's kind of dropping the bar between every rep, so he's conserving his lower back, but also he doesn't stand all the way up, and that's not required to stand all the way up and then drop underneath the bar. So interesting technique right there, and it looks like he's been practicing a bit on that.
kind of short-circuiting the range there on the pull on those cleans, and it's been a little bit quicker. We've seen a couple of athletes try that in the first couple of heats, and it didn't quite work out so much in the end. As you can see, the fatigue set in.
Exactly, it's very, very taxing on your thighs. I mean, and also just it's a movement pattern that you're probably not super comfortable with, that was adapted for this particular event. So interesting to see how it plays out for Alexander right here.
Meanwhile, back onto the bench for the round of 8 for Rasmus Andersen. Has been to the games three times. Once as an individual in 2016, where in a decently strength-based event, it was double DT where he had his best finish. Of course, there's a endurance factor in that one, but it does pay off to be strong in an event like that. That was his 3rd place finish at the games, en route to a 25th overall that year.
I mean, it just goes to show that give this man a barbell and he'll be a happy camper.
Anna Sagasti, again, breaking on the bench press. That's something that's not uncommon. You see him using all the real estate he can on that bar, as that pinky was going all the way out to that second ring.
And he's trying to minimize that range of motion, and that's just smart. I mean, considering that body weight-wise, this is challenging on the weights.
Speaking of breaking it up, it's breaking up in the middle of each set is the strategy for Andersen thus far.
And I think it's smart. I mean, just get 1 rep past the middle or more, over 50% of the workload. Take a little bit of a breather. And it's not because he's forced to, but I think it's because he wants to be able to answer any calls made in the end of the event.
So once he is cleared into this round of 7, he's already past halfway in terms of the amount of work that's completed in this event. If you look at the rep count, as you have 55 reps of each movement, and through the round of 8, you're already through 27.
Exactly, and we've seen that before, and I think a lot of athletes have been thinking about this. If I only get this far, I'm past the halfway point. But those fast transitions between the exercises or the movements, really, they're taxing as well. It's like you get off, there's always going to be one of these things that you're less comfortable with, and you get back to that very, very fast.
Andersen going to start breaking up these sets of the bench press. I believe that was 5.
It does surprise me a little bit, but then again, we've seen it happen every single weekend. Looks like a man on a mission.
And that was interesting, that breaking up on the bench press, because it looked like he might have had a couple more, but it also looked like there was a slight pacing shift in the way that the barbell was moving. Maybe he just wanted to make sure he stayed as far away from that red line as possible.
Oh, I think that's exactly what happened. He's pretty smart, and he knows that, you know, going into that place where he has to start fighting for it, potentially getting help by the spotter behind him, that's not something he wants to do at this part of the event. I don't think he wants to do that at all, which is why he broke it.
So Andersen closing out the round of 7. He'll have 6 rounds remaining, trying to chase down the top time of 14 minutes, 1.43 seconds, set in our opening heat of 4 by Mohamed Alomda. Again, you got to go another 2 minutes and 12 seconds until you get to the second fastest time thus far today.
That was very, very fast. 14:01. I mean, that's not a lot of rest anywhere.
Behind Andersen, who's working on the deadlift, second place is still held by Anna Sagasti. Give third to either Elliot Simmons or Fabio Botteghi. And during this set of 7 on the squat cleans, it's actually going to be Elliot Simmons that will move into the second position just ahead of Anna Sagasti.
Nice move here by Elliot. I'm happy to see that. And Anna Sagasti still utilizing same technique as Elliot takes a casual stroll back to the deadlifts.
So it'll be Andersen 1, Simmons 2, Anna Sagasti 3, Botteghi in 4th as they move into the round of 6. But Andersen with a healthy lead of about 40 seconds over the rest of the field.
And I think there's potential to see him speed up as we get just a little bit further down. I'd imagine that once he gets to 4 reps, he's going to start speeding up and not breaking any reps on the bench press and not on the cleans either.
Yeah, he's had this lead with a pretty cautious pace for what we were expecting from him.
Yeah.
In fact, there goes the break in the cleans. He's just going to start powering through these. There's a set of 6 unbroken into the round of 5. 15 reps of each movement remain. So we're 9 minutes into the 17-minute time cap event. That time cap has been a factor for 16 of our first 20 in the opening 2 heats. Here in men's event number 2, Linda, 10-1, deadlift, bench press, and squat clean. As Elliot Simmons, the points leader, sitting in the 2nd position here in heat number 3.
And he's starting to string together his reps as well. We saw him dropping the bar early. And that's something we've seen over several regionals in several different places, where initially athletes will start dropping the bar, but as they move through the event, they'll start stringing together touch and go reps.
That almost felt like a tester set on when he wanted to just go unbroken. He hit that 4 then 2 singles. It tells me maybe he was thinking about if he wanted to go in that set of 5 unbroken or if he wanted to wait till the set of 4.
Quite possible. Just, it's a smart way of putting it in there, just making sure you don't redline in any way, shape, or form, but at the same time checking out whether there's more.
So on to the round of 5 for Simmons, and about to close out the round of 5 is Rasmus Anderson.
He's making good use of that stroll, so he just recovering really well from the bench press before he walks up to the squat cleans.
This continues to look very comfortable in this event.
It does. Nice deep breaths, keeping the bar close to his body.
And that's one thing on this movement I think people forget a lot about, is the ability to breathe during a clean, and especially when you start cycling that bar. He did a really good job of kind of controlling that pace to keep his breath.
Exactly, and it sets him up for success when he comes back to the deadlift, where he's going to have to brace himself. So if he was having to brace himself and not breathe through the squat cleans, those deadlifts get unnecessarily hard.
Well, he knew we were talking about breathing.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, let me just show you how that works.
The round of 4 deadlifts complete, and that's pretty much no issue at all for him as he moves to the bench. Simmons is starting to close in. That 40-second lead coming into that round of 5 has disappeared into only about, I would say, 15 to 20 seconds between the two.
And we're starting to see Elliot jog in between the movements as well. I think that he's starting to make a little bit of a move.
I mean, I don't want to call this an upset if Simmons catches and passes Anderson, but it's a 30-pound differential between the two.
I would, no, let's not call it an upset, but pleasant surprise.
We're coming up on 12 minutes here. The time to beat is 14:08.
I still think Anderson has a little bit left in the tank to answer these kinds of moves by his competitors.
I'm not sure if that's a great, no, it's a choice to go singles for Rasmus Anderson on the squat cleans, and that might be a warning sign for him here in the round of 4, as he's gone unbroken, sets the round of 6, and right next to him, Elliot Simmons is going to go unbroken.
And Elliot looks really, really fresh. We're seeing Rasmus walk his way back to the deadlifts, and the last time we saw Elliot go back to the deadlift, he was jogging it.
Down to about 10 to 12 seconds, the differential. Elliot will jog again as Rasmus is making his way with a walk back to the deadlift bar. Again, 14:01 the time to beat. The second fastest time, 16:13. So if they fall behind that 14:01, there's plenty of time until the second quickest time thus far. So while this is the race for first and second, Fabio Botteghi has picked up the 3rd position. He's got to move that bar into the next segment of the floor. He'll be moving into the round of 3 as well, but he'll fall about 45, 50 seconds behind the lead race. And side by side, making their way to the bar is Rasmus Anderson and Elliot Simmons. It's a 1-rep advantage for Anderson. Gonna go back to that unbroken strategy for the round of 3. Simmons will go unbroken once again, and it's only 3 seconds separating the two.
And now we see Rasmus starting to jog his way back again. Elliot's looking very, very fresh though.
Alomda's time from heat number 1 looks to still be good as we're into the round of 2, as that's 20 seconds away, so he'll hold on to the top spot with 1 heat remaining. But to the bench almost at the same exact time will be Simmons and Anderson. Again in event number 1, so obviously very early in the point standings. Anderson 9th, Simmons 1st, and Elliott's gonna just hop off the bench and almost sprint to the bar for the round of 2 squat cleans.
And the way Simmons just did those bench presses, that was a statement right there. I've got plenty left. Watch me sprint.
Quick transitions against quick bar cycling, and give it to the transitions here late as Simmons makes his way back to the deadlift bar for 1 final rep of each. It's the annoyance round, but it's an important one between these two, as this is one of the closest races we've seen for a heat win.
And look at how easy what short work he makes of that deadlift or that bench press. That was easy.
Simmons makes his way down to the clean bar of 145 pounds, about 66 kilos for 1 final rep. He'll stand it up, and it'll be good for the second fastest time through 3 heats in event number 2.
Elliot Simmons making a statement. He's here to stay.
Also in under the 15-minute mark will be Rasmus Anderson. He'll be in at 3rd with 1 final heat left, as we're 2 minutes away from the 17-minute time cap.
And Fabio Botteghi forgets to advance the bar.
Becoming a habit here the past couple of rounds.
It is. And it kind of opened up the window just a little bit to lane number 3 here, Gianluca Stitzer as well.
And Stitzer and Botteghi will get to the bench at the same time. Botteghi in black and green in the center lane, lane number 5. There you see Stitzer making his way away from the bench, and he knew that he had the opportunity to make a pass, and those formulaic kind of movements down the floor will wind up costing Botteghi a position. Give it to Stitzer, 3rd in the heat, Botteghi 4th in the heat, both under the 16-minute mark. They'll wind up in the top 5 provisionally going into heat number 4.
And it was advancing the bar that opened up the window for Gianluca, and he didn't flinch.
Round of 2 for Anastassi. And he'll get into that final round. And earlier, Nicky Brazier was bringing up the hip injury. It looks like that might be flaring up on him in this event.
We saw him change the technique on the squat cleans just a little bit as well.
Yeah, you can see him kind of laboring to get over that bar each time. Got 20 seconds. There is time for him to beat the time cap. You can see him laboring. He's going to will on this crowd to help him out. And he will be in under the time cap at 16 minutes, 53 seconds. In the first 2 heats, we had 4 finishers. In the 3rd heat alone, we had 5.
And Anthony Monk's just on the buzzer, but I don't think he made it there.
So the new leader, actually in the heat winner, will be Elliot Simmons at 14:51. The lead will continue to be held by Mohamed Alomda at 14:01. But what a race we had between Simmons and Anderson, 2 top 10 athletes coming into this event.
It was great to watch these two. It was all about Anderson early in the event, but Elliot Simmons saved just a little bit in the tank, and as Anderson started slowing down a little bit on the bench press and started to breaking up the squat cleans just a little bit more, things got interesting. And here's how it went. Rasmus Anderson right here, looking forward to the event, rushing out, being really, really fast and really concise at the beginning. On the bench press, same thing. Initially didn't look like a problem at all, nor did it for Elliot Simmons. But a little bit later, you saw Rasmus starting to fight and struggle just a little bit on the bench press. And when that happened, Elliot Simmons was there, making a move immediately. And once he got in the lead, there's just no catching up for Rasmus Anderson.
That 1 final rep was good enough for a 6 or 7 second advantage for Simmons over Rasmus Anderson for first and second in the heat results. But again, that's good for second and third in the event with one heat remaining, and that fourth and final heat of men's event number 2 is next. And welcome back, as it's time for our fourth and final heat of men's event 2, Linda. And in heat number 3, we had 4 athletes in the top 10. Believe it or not, in heat number 4, we've only got 3 athletes in the top 10, as we will have 4th place Willie George in lane number 5, 6th place Jason Smith in lane 6, and 7th place Stefano Songa in lane number 2, as they take on the event that we just saw, 10-1, with the 3 bars of death.
Exactly. They will also be taking on Linda. So event number 2, Linda, 10, 9, 8, 7, all the way down to 1 reps of deadlift, bench press, and squat clean. The deadlift at 295, bench press at 195 pounds, and the squat clean at 145 pounds. The time cap for the event is 17 minutes.
And away we go. The time to beat, 14 minutes, 1 second by Mohamed Alomda. That was all the way back in heat number 1. That time still stands.
Yeah, it was a blistering pace, and I mean, we just saw the previous heat. Those guys were chasing it down, but didn't really get there. It's a great performance, basically.
Seeing 9 athletes make their way to the bench, all within a couple of seconds of each other.
We see Atesh Boran there pointing at his shoulder, wanting the spotter to be ready to see how that goes. Hoping Atesh is all right.
Keep an eye on this bench press, and it looks like he's moving all right. Might have just had some concern there on his shoulder, but looks like small sets might be the thing. He's definitely showing some signs of discomfort.
I hope Atesh doesn't do anything that he shouldn't do. If it hurts really, really bad, think further ahead, brother. The first athlete making it to the squat cleans, however, was Phil Hesketh, followed by Lucas Esslinger, and this is a Phil Hesketh event. Phil is kind of the same kind of athlete as Rasmus Anderson, just very comfortable with the barbell, incredibly strong, and really nice execution from him as well as he moves forward.
And also a little bit lighter if you follow the CrossFit Games Instagram page. If you're having breakfast and scrolling, we apologize for that. As Hesketh makes his way into round number 2 in the lead, just ahead of Lucas Esslinger in lane number 4. Jason Smith also in the picture, rounding out our top 3.
Interesting to see here that Phil is opting to break up the deadlifts early.
And that will actually have him lose the lead by just a little bit, as it'll be Esslinger that will move to the bench first. No shock that those 2 are out in front here in this one.
Not at all, but we need to remember that Phil Hesketh did have a pec tear last year, and it kind of put him out of the competition. And I'd really like to see him be healthy for a long time, and he looks strong. I just don't want him to go too fast. I don't want him to agitate any potential issues that he may have had before.
Lane number 3, see Atesh Boran has made his way to the squat clean portion of this opening round.
Looks a lot like that was more his jam.
Yeah, he did. And by the way, he did have one of the head judges over there kind of checking on him, making sure that everything was okay during that bench press. So obviously they came to an agreement that he is good to continue as he closes out the first round. But closing out the second round is our lead pack of 4, make it 5, as it's Esslinger on the right, Hesketh in lane number 8, our second place athlete. And
so
Hesketh is making his way back for round number 8, or the round of 8.
And so what we're seeing right now is there are a lot of people still in contention, so nothing is really set and done. We saw an early lead in the previous heat. It's not the case right now. So Phil Hesketh right back on his deadlifts. At the same time as in the middle of your screen, that's Stefano Migliorini finishing up on his squat cleans.
He's rounding out the top 5 coming out of the second round. So 19 reps down. Only a few left on each movement.
Still a lot of work and a lot of potential for moving around. the top of your screen right now, you saw Hesketh just get it right back into the bench press, and he's been making short work out of that. There he is on the left side of your screen at the same time as Lucas Esslinger on the right side of your screen gets into his bench press.
So Hesketh making his way from the bench back into the lead. And again, checking in on Atesh Puran and standing there with one of our head judges, and that's normally not a good sign with as long as they're waiting on this one. He might be making a decision. He got through one round. That is the minimum work requirement, is one round of this event, and he might be making the decision that it might be good enough. And actually, he's going to make his way back to the bar. And all right, well, he's got the minimum work requirement done, but we're going to see how much longer this goes. Maybe he just wants to get through the deadlifts.
Maybe. I just love that there's a conversation about this, and and both that Atesh and the head judge is thinking about his health as we're moving forward. He's been around for a long time, and by no means is he done.
So checking back in on our lead, it's Hesketh on the left, holding off Esslinger as they reach the halfway point in terms of the amount of reps completed. Moving into the round of 7. Gonna go back onto the bench for Atesh.
We know from previous years that he's been in trouble with his hands, where he just tore his hands, and everybody was kind of expecting him to give it up and throw in the glove, but there's just no give in this man.
It's a tough spot. I mean, obviously, we mentioned that he has met the minimum work requirement of this event, so the weekend can continue. But there is also that thought that if you stop moving, then there is that conversation to be had about if the weekend's over for you at some point. But there's also that long-term thought as well.
But exactly, and you know that's exactly what's going on in his mind right now. He's thinking short-term, long-term. How am I doing? What's this really going to do? And I mean, if you're out there and you're going to be dead last, then start thinking long-term, my friend.
So we'll check back in on what Atesh is doing as this event continues, as we're 6.5 minutes into a 17-minute time cap event. This event being led by Phil Hesketh on the left side of your screen. Second place continues to be Lucas Esslinger. Third place is going to be Willie Georges, as you see him making his way towards the bar in that white t-shirt on the far right side of the screen a moment ago.
It's interesting to see that none of these guys are starting to string together their reps on the squat cleans yet. I would have imagined that they start going 2, 3 reps, but sticking with the game plan so far.
And it looks like that the decision's been made by Atesh Puran that he's going to think about long-term and walking off the floor.
And obviously he's upset, obviously he's sad, but I'm happy to see him think about that. I'd love to see him back on the floor again next year, as fresh as he possibly could be.
Well, maybe not walking off the floor, staying. Well, okay, we'll see how this keeps. The story keeps turning on us every time we think we've got it figured out. So we'll take another look at that later on. But into the round of 6 are the leaders, Hesketh and Esslinger, as well as Georges. They round out our top 3. Jason Smith also onto the round of 6, as is Rohan Juvenage.
And Phil Hesketh looking really, really strong on his deadlift. And as I say that, we're just looking right now at Jason Smith, just shaking out his arms, making sure that he's ready for that bench press. There he is, Phil Hesketh, casually walking up to the bar. Now he's looking around him to see where everybody else is at in this heat, but he needs to remember Muhammad Alamda's time from the first heat.
A time of 14:01. You got to go another 50 seconds back to Elliot Simmons' second quickest time, as Hesketh Needing to have a solid event here, as event number 1, we're not going to say it was catastrophic by any means, but 13th place in that first event in a regional where there's only 4 spots. We will bring that up a lot this weekend because that does change the dynamic of things.
But it sure does, and it's what we hear from the athletes all the time when we talk to them as well.
So Hesketh advancing that bar, and he's into the round of 5. And Willie George is actually going to move into second, but he's forgotten to move the bar, and the back judge actually having to get his attention to remind him, as he got farther than I've seen anybody get, having to forget that bar. And he will still hold on to second, just ahead of Esslinger.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Has anybody left anything? Has anybody left on intention something left in the tank so that they can answer these calls a little bit later? This is when I'd like to see some of these guys looking to make moves, starting to string together their squat cleans, potentially like we saw in the heat before as well, start jogging back to the deadlifts from the squat cleans.
And similar to what we saw in heat number 3, I believe this is all about the transitions for Willie George. Granted, he had that misstep, not advancing the bar, but he seems to be moving pretty quickly from bar to bar.
And I think that's smart. I think it's smart. There's just so much time to be made up right there. And then mentally as well, it's a boost.
And he's going to be 1 short of completing that round of 5 on the bench, and he did have that kind of warning sign rep there as the bar is slowed, and Hesketh is just continuing to pull away from the field here in heat number 4.
Oh, he's unstoppable. He's out there making a statement again that last year was a coincidence. It's not like he stopped training either.
And making his way into the round of 4. George has some company for second, as it's Duvenage in the multicolor shorts, a couple of lanes above him. They'll continue to be George in second, Duvenage in third.
And Duvenage looking for a good outing after that first event, because that didn't go quite the way he planned it.
Now in 6 events, only getting 26 points for a 27th place finish in that opening event. He's going to need to hit some home runs the rest of the way this weekend.
Sure does. And what that means as an athlete, basically now, is that let go of the event, the first event. Full focus on this one. You can't change anything about what happened in the first event, but you can go out there and do the best you can now. So don't carry that with him. He's looking good on the bench press as well. And now we're seeing it right here from Phil Hesketh, starting to string together his reps as well.
Into the round of 3, 6 reps of each of the 3 movements remain. That lead shrinking just a little bit, but it's still pretty significant. As George with those quicker transitions, that's been the saving grace for him, and it's not a bad point to have those quicker transitions as we're moving into the round where they're going to come up faster and faster on top of each other. It's Hesketh in first, George in the white and black in second, multicolored shorts, no shirt for Duvenage in third.
And you see right next to him how fast Phil Hesketh is going through his bench presses still. No sign of slowing down.
1.5 minutes from the time to beat of 14:01. Second quickest time is over 2 minutes away at 14:51. Both are in reach if he moves. The 14:51 time obviously a lot easier to reach. As into the final 2 rounds is Hesketh, making his way to the bar for the round of 3 is George and Duvenage.
Hesketh actually running back to the deadlift now, even faster than he was before. He's seeing the end of the tunnel right now, and he's happy with where he's at. Doesn't want to give that positioning away to anybody.
Might have been feeling a little bit of heat too, as George and Duvenage were closing in on him. Less than a minute until the time to beat, which looks like we're going to have a Heat 1 event win for somebody. You don't get that a whole lot, as Mohamed Alomda's time of 14:01 looks like it's still going to stand. as Hesketh will move the bar into that final round of 10, the round of 1. Duvenage will move ahead of Georges, who's starting to hobble a little bit.
Oh, those calves are starting to cramp up, feeling the effects of event number 1.
That's something we've seen a lot over the first couple of weeks at regionals. And that might be the difference maker between the two.
And here's Hesketh jogging his way back to the last clean.
Again, 14:01, that time will continue to stand, but it's going to be a second place finish for Phil Hesketh, 14:16. As Ron Duvenage will make his way to the bar, if he stands this up, will be a third place finish, and that is a much needed third place finish for the man who took 27th in heat number 1.
Pretty happy with that. And here's Willie George as well.
4th place in event 1, 4th place in event 2, and it looks like some much needed recovery time for his legs coming up here as his day is done.
Mr. Consistency strikes.
Closing out the round of 2 next will be Alan Philly. Also on the near side of the screen is Lucas Esslinger on his final rep as he'll cross at 15 minutes. That'll be good, I believe, for about 7th place in the event. As Philly onto the final round. Still a little under 2 minutes until that 17-minute time cap. Had 9 of 30 athletes be able to come in under that 17-minute limit. And you're seeing the effects of event number 1 for a couple of athletes as those runs down the floor have turned into hobbles for a few people as the legs just fatigued more and more. Alan Philly will be our next finisher at 15:44.
There are a couple of guys out there, it looks like they're about to finish it as well.
Daniel Sherbakov, that is an uncomfortable looking run, making his way to the bar, and he will be our next finisher at 16:06. Foot race to the bar, 1 rep remaining for Stefano Songa and Stefano Migliorini. And I'm not even gonna try to guess who got that one. It's gonna be Migliorini by a couple hundredths of a second. And it might have been where their foot landed compared to that finish, Matt, on that stride out of that final rep. Jason Smith, the question for him was going to be how well that foot would hold up, because he's in the final 30 seconds. He'll be the last active participant in this event.
And it looked like he was struggling a bit on the bench press. Everything else looked like it was working the way it should.
Well, this fight, final 10 seconds, Jason Smith under the bar, stands it up. He'll reach the finish mat just in time under the 17-minute time cap. And all 9 of the active participants are in. And you can see the discomfort there as he's grabbing his calf. And you can see how much that's cramping up.
You can't blame him after that event 1.
And that was a ton of effort at the end. So all 9 of those that continued in this event, as we saw Atesh Boran standing there by his bench. He didn't leave the floor. That might have been something that they said, hey, look, if you recover, you feel good enough, you might be able to continue in day number 3. He did meet the minimum work requirement. And somebody that did more than the minimum work requirement was Phil Hesketh, as his time of 14:16 will win heat number 4. It'll be good for a 2nd place finish in the event.
Phil did a brilliant job. I mean, he came out strong. He was breaking up the reps on his squat cleans to start with. The bench press was never a problem. The clear, crisp reps, making sure the judges didn't have to think about it. And at the same time, some of the other competitors here, Willie George and Lucas Esslinger, were a little bit slower on the bench press as well. And that's where he really made his move. So he finished off while Willie George here had to fight off a little bit of a cramp. And there you see him, Phil Hesketh, last rep.
13th in event number 1, 2nd in event number 2. Phil Hesketh is with Nikki Brazier.
So Phil, we saw it come down to the transitions in the end. How did you know when exactly to turn it up, especially considering that you had guys on either side of you pushing you to that final pace?
I mean, yeah, Willie was pushing me pretty hard up until about the 5s, I think. But then I realized that I was leaving I started like easing off and kind of realized I was cutting it way too short for the previous heat. I didn't quite see the time, but I knew it was just over 14. So I think I ended up taking second, which is a bit of a shame. I wanted to win this one.
Still a really good place. I know that in the last event here, you were not feeling so well in the end. How are you feeling now in comparison?
Oh, it's a much better feeling. I really don't know what happened. The last half a mile, I was holding that in, and I really didn't want to spew on the treadmill. Yeah, I just had to be that guy that spewed all over the finish line instead.
You know what? It happens. You pushed real hard. Great way to finish out today. Nice work.
Thank you very much.
Very different tale of two events there for Phil Hesketh, as the first one, not so pretty in the end. The second one, a much better result, as he'll finish second as our Heat 4 winner. Mohamed Alomda, said it before, it's not often you see a Heat 1 winner in those 4 heat events, but he will take this one, 14:01. Phil Hesketh in second, Ron Duveneige in third, Willie Georges in fourth. Elliot Simmons, the points leader coming into this event, will sit in the 5th position. So not a bad start of the day, or the competition, for Simmons as well. So that will close it out for the men's side of event number 2. We'll get the floor set for women's event number 2 as they'll take on Linda next here in Madrid.